Why I don't do intermittent fasting, okay? Because we're living right now where it seems like everyone and their mother is into this intermittent fasting thing about skipping breakfast, quote unquote. But I'm here to tell you that breakfast is the most important meal of the day, okay? And the fact of the matter is that it's impossible to skip breakfast unless you are just never going to eat in your life, because breakfast is break fast. So by its very definition, your first meal that you eat after a prolonged period of fasting, aka after you wake up, is your breakfast, okay? Regardless of whether you're eating at 8 a.m., regardless of whether you're eating at 2 p.m., that is your breakfast. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Now, why is this so? Because there's something called the circadian rhythm. You might have heard of it. It's basically the alignment of our body's sleep and wake cycles with the rising and setting of the sun, okay? The 24-hour clock that our body is supposed to be functioning in. And when we are not aligned with the rising and setting of the sun, then our hormone secretions are not optimal as well, because there's something like 90+% of our physiology is tied back to the circadian rhythm. And where does eating breakfast come into this? Because the thing is that when the first light that you are exposed to through your eyes, for example, when you look at the sun, that aligns the circadian rhythm in your brain, okay? But the first bite that you take, the first amount of calories that you eat, that is what aligns the circadian rhythm in every single other one of your organs, okay? The kidney, the liver, the lungs, every other organ that is involved in the digestion process actually gets activated through your first bite. And this is why it's so important that you time your first meal consistently on a day-to-day basis, so that your body can prime itself and optimize its metabolic functions for the food to be metabolized most efficiently, okay? Because there's so many guys talking about intermittent fasting, about skipping breakfast, about this, that, and the other thing, but the fact of the matter is that the most important aspect of your nutrition, of course it's important what you eat, but when you eat has been found to be very, very important as well, okay? Because they've done studies on this, and they found that when they give rats, for example, they give them the same amount of calories, okay, the same amount of macronutrient composition foods, but when they just change the timing, and one of the rats they give the food between 8 hours, and the other rat they give it like, and over a period of 16 hours, they find that the rats that were given the food within the 8-hour window actually metabolized it more efficiently and had less amount of body fat as well, right? So where am I going with all of this? What I'm saying basically is that forget about intermittent fasting. Everyone is doing that one way or another, okay? Everyone who is just sleeping and waking up and eating something, they are doing intermittent fasting, because the definition of IF is basically alternating between times of eating and not eating. And everyone by definition is doing that, because obviously you're not eating 24 hours in a day, all right? So the term that I like using at this point in my journey is TRE, okay? Time restricted eating. And just staying consistent with your first meal, which is the most important meal of the day, and then your last meal is the second most important meal of the day, because it also sends a signal to your organs when they can actually expect to stop the digestion process and move on to other important functions of your body, okay? So the point to understand basically is to keep your eating schedule consistent, so that you can send your signals to the body and keep it aware of when it needs to perform the certain functions. And of course, a large part of that comes down to the circadian rhythm, okay? So this has been Mo Salim. I hope that you take action, because more information is definitely not what you need at this point. What you need is execution. And once you understand that the circadian rhythm determines so much of how you're showing up in life, then you can align your day-to-day habits. For example, eating, what we're talking about in this video, is so important to keep it consistent and keep your body not guessing, basically, all right? Keep it efficient, like a well-oiled machine that is doing what needs to be done when it needs to be done. This has been Mo Salim, and I'll see you soon.